And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, November 20th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat to create any thought or comment you want to see me acknowledge throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about the Jets, as they made another move yesterday after I concluded the show, and that was firing general manager Joe Douglas, which was kind of expected, but the timing of it, in my opinion, I was a little confused by. But again, this was going to happen. This was inevitable. So we'll get into that. We'll also talk about the current MVP race. We're starting to near the end of the regular season, so I just wanted to get into that discussion, talk about who is in the lead, who's up for that award. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about the Lions and their win over the Jaguars as they just continue to dominate. We will also talk about the NFC West once again, talk about the division race, and who will end up winning it. Who has the best shot with the remaining schedules that those teams have, with it just being so jam-packed. You got 3 5-5 teams, and the Cardinals are 6-4 in first place. So we'll get into that. And then I'll do my power rankings, and it was tough this week. It was definitely tough. So we'll get into that. I will give you my top 5 teams after Week 11. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about Joe Douglas. So his tenure as Jets general manager ends after 6 years and was not great record-wise. There were people that were disappointed and confused as to why he got fired. But, the record does speak for itself. As the general manager for the Jets, he posted a 30-64 record, and his teams never made the playoffs. His season high for wins was 7, and that's a .438 winning percentage. And that was it. Well, that was in year 1. And that was the peak of his tenure, as this article on NFL.com says. And they did win 7 games last year as well. But, yeah, and look, a lot of people talk about how he did draft guys like Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner, although Sauce has not had a good year. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson. Yeah, he did draft some solid players. The problem is that the biggest one, and one of the biggest reasons why he is no longer here with the Jets, is because he took Zach Wilson with the 2nd overall pick in 2021. That is why he is no longer here. And had Zach Wilson worked out, there would have been no Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson would have been the guy. But Zach Wilson just never developed into that guy. His rookie season, he did show some promise, but it went downhill. And the Giants may deal with this similar thing where if Brian Dable and Joe Shane get a chance to draft their quarterback that they want and it doesn't work out, then they're definitely gone. If it's not after this year. So that's one of the main reasons. And then, of course, you go out and you get Aaron Rodgers. And back to the Jets now. You go out and you get Aaron Rodgers and you hope that he could turn things around there. But it's just been a disaster. And again, if Zach Wilson works out, they don't go out and get Aaron Rodgers. And everybody that got let go still has a job. But other moves moves he failed to make, is last year they should have brought in a legitimate backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers if he ended up getting hurt, which happened 4 plays into the season. And Zach Wilson had to step in. And you had Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle. Those are not legitimate backup quarterbacks. You go back to last year and you see how many backup quarterbacks started and how well some of them did. The Jets should have tried to get somebody that could come in and win a couple of games. But they didn't do that. And people point to last year as maybe being the year that the Jets really could have competed, because the defense this year took a massive step back. And had Rodgers not gotten hurt last year, who knows? Who knows what happens? The defense played well last year. You still would have had it at full strength. Some of the guys that they let go in free agency or traded would still have been there. Maybe they would have traded for Davante Adams last year. Who knows? But I think Rodgers probably still gets hurt. He's hurt right now. He probably still gets banged up last year too. So it's just, I don't know. We could play that game all day, but maybe it's true. Maybe it could have been last year, because the defense, like I said, has been a disappointment this year. It's just all facets. And you hear some reports and some articles coming out about Woody Johnson and how he let go of Robert Saleh without talking to Joe Douglas. He made that decision on his own. There was also reports that he wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after the loss to the Broncos. To the Broncos. Not after the loss, the second loss to the Patriots, or the loss to the Patriots. They beat them the first game. The second matchup with the Patriots, they lost. Not that game. Not this past week. Not against the Cardinals. Against the Broncos. This was early on in the season. This is, they went 2-2 at that point. And then, he got pushback for that. So I thought that was interesting. And I wonder if Rodgers makes a statement on that. Whether it's his next appearance on the McAfee show, which I don't believe I don't think he made an appearance on it this week. So we'll find out next week, but it's not good. And I actually did go back and watch some of the Jets highlights from earlier this year. Specifically watching Rodgers and that first game against the Patriots. Now, again, the Patriots are not good. Now, this is, of course, with Jacoby Brissett starting. Drake May looks like he could be the guy there. But I went back and I watched some of the highlights from earlier this year. And the Patriots game was the best Rodgers looked all year. But he was moving around in the pocket. It's not like he was chucking the ball 50 yards down the field, but he was throwing some good passes that weren't just checkdowns. So, partly why Rodgers has been a disappointment is, and Boomer Esiason, I listened to a segment on his radio show this morning, said the same thing, which I think we all know, but he's playing hurt right now. That's why he's got to get rid of the ball quickly. That's why he's always checking it down to Breece Hall. He's playing hurt. And, had he not gotten hurt, had he stayed healthy this whole year, maybe things are a little bit different. But, the bye week is coming a good time for him, just to try to, get a little bit more, a little bit healthier. But he took a lot of hits this year. And, when he's going to be 41 soon, you're not going to be able to shake it off, like you were, 31. It takes a toll on your body. And, Joe Douglas did his best. He went out and tried to improve this offensive line. He brought in 3 new offensive linemen. He drafted one, Fashanu. Traded for Davante Adams. Tried to put Rodgers in a better situation. And it just did not pan out. But now you got Rodgers, who's going to be 41. And I don't know what's going to happen. There's reports that, the Jets, the players are not really upset or angry about the record, but they kind of just want the season to be done. So they're kind of just going through the motions. And, I don't know what kind of record they're going to finish with, but it's not going to be great. Maybe they win one or two more games, but it's going to be a bad record. And I don't know what exactly their plan is going to be. I don't know what general manager is going to come in, what head coach they're going to bring in, who's going to be interested in this job. Now, they have talent on this team, and I don't know who's coming back and who's not. Are they going to run it back with Rodgers again, or is he gone? I mean, but if you hear that Woody Johnson was talking about benching him, he's probably not going to want to come back. But we'll have to wait and see. But this was a monumental disappointment on all fronts. And we'll see what comes about it when we get to the end of the year. But you just feel for Jet fans because, when Rodgers first got there was optimism. There was hope. But once he got hurt last year, that was kind of it. Because even going into this year, my friends, my coworkers, family, there wasn't a lot of optimism. There didn't seem like, oh yeah, this team is going to be really good this year. It was, we'll wait and see. And it hasn't been good. It's been a failure. And there's a lot of blame that goes around. I mean, I've said it constantly. It's coaching, it's player performance, and it's ownership. All facets. And who knows when it's going to get better. New York football is not in a good spot right now. And I'll leave it at that. But let me know what you guys think about the Jets' decision. How do you think this season's going to finish out for them? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our first break of the show now. When we come back, we will talk about the MVP race. Who's leading the race currently? Who are the top candidates? We'll get into all that when we return. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.